Little Legends Podcast is a Prediction Esports production. Support us by subscribing to the Prediction Esports Podcast channel on your favorite podcast provider. Hey guys, welcome back to the Little Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Blevins. Joining me as always is Boop. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
I'm feeling good, dude. I'm feeling on top of it. We had some good pre-gaming going on, and for everyone who's tuning in now, today is going to be a big day, my friends. I can't wait. I can't wait for this episode.
Yeah, Boop is particularly excited about this one because I'm just feeling a little heated today. I feel like I've got some pent up ranked frustrations that are going to be taken out this episode.
Yep. Just imagine Yosemite Sam, right? Just smoke coming out of the
Am I offended?
Beards there. Am I offended? That's what we're all going to get today. So just don't disappoint us, Blev. We've prepped them.
Okay, Miss Havisham, why don't you just keep up with those great expectations? Ha ha! All right, there's your Charles Dickens reference for the show. For those of you playing the Little Legends Podcast drinking game at home, or Little Legends Podcast bingo, there's your square.
Yeah,
your Charles Dickens square. But we got a great show for you today, of course. Little Legends Podcast is a prediction esports production. Make sure you're checking us out over there if you're not already. PREDICTION on iTunes and Spotify. All sorts of great esports content there. You really, really need to check that out. Leave us a review. Leave us a review wherever you are. Those all are extremely helpful in the show growing. All right, let's talk a little bit about our week in TFT. Boop, what was your TFT experience this week?
It was light, actually. Not a lot of playing done. I'm feeling pretty good about this particular patch and meta. I know as we go into tomorrow, if you're listening in real time, today maybe, yesterday if you're a little late. I'm actually really excited for it. I feel like I've got like a good my head around it, and just like excited to grind.
Yeah, so. I have also been pretty light on the playing this week for reasons that we'll be talking about shortly that I may or may not go off on. But I actually did get a pretty good session in last night with some friends, Deathblow, Clibbers, who are two of my IRL friends as well. I guess they're also internet friends too. I don't know. The line is so blurred nowadays. But as well as Eric Thomas and a couple of his crew as well. So had a really fun session last night, and I top 4 at every game we played, so still got it. So I've been having a lot of fun with this patch. It's still like set 2 still like it felt better at the beginning. It feels good now. It felt better than set 1 at the beginning. It still feels great now. I feel like we've only had it for 3 weeks, I guess, but it feels like we've had it for longer, and it still feels very good and very new and very dynamic. It still seems like there's a lot of different stuff that you can actually play and get somewhere and actually have decent results, whereas set 1 really seemed like it devolved into, well, you have to go Assassins, or you have to go Knights Imperials, or you have to go insert Synergy here. Now
it just feels like a bigger game, right?
Yeah.
It feels so much better. Like that there's more to do, more fun to have. And with ranked started, it's gonna be good. I'm really, really excited. I'm really excited for tomorrow. It's a dawn, potentially a new meta. Ashe is getting buffed. Even though I think most of us have had enough Ashe from set 1. But she's a little different now.
Ashe, man.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes Ashe can be big, sometimes Ashe can be small, and right now Ashe is on the smaller side.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going. I'm not taking that. That's bait.
Sometimes
That's bait. That's
yeah,
bait.
sometimes your ash can be stuck, can be a little clogged up,
Nope.
and
We're
I
not
feel like
talking about stool charts.
if we
We're
look at the
not
bristol
talking.
stool chart, we can really look at what's happening with ash.
For those of you listening at home, playing the Little Legends podcast bingo or drinking game, there's your Bristol stool chart square filled in, or finish your drinks if you're playing along at home. Let's somehow progress past that and move into a bit of news here. And this has been the big hot button issue here. We're going to be talking about the patch after the break, but before that, we got an interview that was done at Worlds. This article was actually posted by, I believe the interview was done by the Shot Caller on YouTube, and this article that was, I guess, I don't know how esports journalism or like sports journalism works. It's just like you're taking an interview that someone else did and then reporting on. I don't know how any of that works, but Esports posted this article which contains an interview done by someone who's not Esports. So just for reference sake, I guess it doesn't really matter. And then we're talking about it, so we're like 15 levels removed from this. But long story short, an interview was done with John Needham, who's Riot's global head of esports, regarding a lot of different things. This was at League of Legends Worlds, and the headline of this article is Riot head of esports says Teamfight Tactics competitive scene will be, quote, casual and, quote, entertainment focused. That is the title of the article. And I don't know what you have heard from from people and what you've seen, Boop, but people have not been taking this article well, I would say. I've seen a lot of people be upset about this.
Well, I mean, I think when you read the article, it kind of comes off a certain way, if that makes sense. It kind of like when you read the headline, if you're one of those headline readers out there,
Any
it kind of
headline
just
readers in chat?
it kind of just like feels like, oh, we're just gonna do whatever we did at the Invitational, right? It's just gonna be silly games. People aren't gonna be taking it seriously, and it seemed to have pissed off the people who are like really grinding to be professionals at this game, right? But that might not be the whole story, right, Blev?
Oh yeah. Okay, so let me preface this a little bit. So I saw this article get posted. This is actually like a little. It's actually not. It didn't come out today. It came out a few days ago, and people were asking me about it and my thoughts on it. And I go, I didn't actually even read or look at the article until literally 5 minutes before we started the show. So I've had the full range here. So when I saw the article, I'm like, well, that's not great, I guess. It's not a good thing to me. And then also people were like, oh man, this is awful. I've seen some people, in my opinion, overreact to it and really kind of veer away from Teamfight Tactics in a lot of ways. And, people have been upset about this article. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to see exactly what was said. I want to not make my public opinion until I've actually looked at the article and watched the interview. And actually, Eric Thomas, who I mentioned before, asked me about it. And without even me reading the article, what I said was, the fact that they're saying it's not competitive or it's not this or that doesn't mean. It can mean a lot of things, right? Something not being competitive doesn't necessarily mean that they're not taking it seriously. It doesn't really mean much of anything, right? If you just say, oh, TFT is not going to be competitive or is going to be casual focused or entertainment focused, rather, is the quote from the interview. Entertainment focused. Well, that could mean a lot of things. What you can probably infer from the article, just from that line, is that it's not going to be, sit down, have a competitive tournament like a Magic the Gathering type of thing where there's a big tournament and there's a lot of people playing and it's just a grind in that. And more entertainment focused. Okay, we've already seen kind of the brewings of what that is with the Twitch Rivals and that Invitational. Like that to me is entertainment focused. And we talked about kind of the ups and downs of our opinions of that. But here's what really gets me though, because I purposely didn't read or watch the interview until right before this recording, so I could like actually take it in and react to it as is. And here's the thing. So this is the quote from the written article. That's a synopsis of the interview with TF. This is from John. This is a quote from John Needham. With TFT, it's not as hardcore a competitive game as the Rift, meaning Summoner's Rift, and standard League of Legends. Needham said, we're looking at TFT from an esports perspective more as an entertainment property. We're going to do more invitationals. We're going to do a charity event as part of our all-star event in September. And next year, you'll see, while we have some structure around esports for TFT, it's not as structured as League of Legends. It'll be a bit more casual, a bit more entertainment focused, and a bit more tournament focused. End quote. Like, okay, that in and of itself doesn't even sound bad, right? Like,
yeah, but they emphasize the whole like entertainment focused aspect.
Well,
right?
I think I have it. I don't have it queued up, so I'm not even going to play. I don't know if it's at the right spot. And I don't want to fumble around with the audio. The literal next line of that quote that they don't include in the article but is in the interview is, we're going to play around with it and we're going to be listening to our fans. And we're going to be listening to our fans' feedback to see what they want. Like, so literally, they're making a strong stance of what they think is a good strategy, with the caveat of, we're also going to listen to your feedback, so let us know.
Yep.
So there's literally nothing bad about it. And if anything, them saying it's not going to be as structured as League of Legends, if it was, that would be weird. The game has been out for not even 6 months. League of Legends proper has been out for 10 years, and the esports scene has evolved organically from that over the course of a decade. If you're trying to put a decade's worth of organic like structure and change onto something that's not the same type of game, it's not the same type of structure, it doesn't have the same pedigree as a MOBA, the game type itself isn't even a year old. Like, if people are mad that TFT's not getting an LCS or Worlds, like we're not getting TFT Worlds like this year with the league, what are you expecting? Who is running that? How is it going to be run? What, like, well, I just want to finish this real quick, because people give crap to Overwatch League all the time, and obviously me and you are both very in tune with Overwatch League, and like Overwatch League did that, right? They did that at a high scale. Overwatch, they designed it as an esport. They are, in a way, unorganically kind of placing this structure, this league structure, on a esport that didn't grow over the course of a decade, right? And I think they do a good job of it, but people give it crap all the time. People would be giving it 10 times more crap to TFT if they're like, okay, we've got Cloud9 TFT versus G2. Like, people would like it for in some ways, but like, there's so much more than just that. And like, if you're trying, like, even if you did it with like Hearthstone, like comparing Hearthstone to League of Legends, like, that's just, it's not the same type of esports. The ecosystem is different. The tournament structure is different. The league structure is different. The viewership experience is completely different. And people who are like, oh, well, there's not going to be TFT World, so what's even the point of playing? It's like, you're just completely missing it, man. Like, you're missing the point completely if you wanted that. Because, like, and like, at the end of the day, like, just watch the fucking interview before you comment on stuff. Like, seriously, it's like, I saw all these things and I was expecting them to be like, well, we hate TFT. TFT's gonna be people who play TFT are gonna have to spend RP to play, and they're only playing for we'll mail them cookies and garbage to them in the mail, and there's no more ranked. We're getting rid of it. That's what I was expecting from the reactions to this article, where in actuality it was, hey, we're being completely reasonable. We have an idea of what we want. We have an idea of what we think is going to be successful for a game like this, and we're also going to take your feedback. What more could you possibly want?
All right, so I think that, like, are you good? Do you need to take a breath?
And scene.
And scene. Okay, so
that's at least one. That's one rant for today. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I think you're even more passionate about the next one, which I'm so excited about. Anyway, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate just because I do not believe this, because I wholeheartly agree with you. But something that I think happens in esports, right, is it's such a new industry, right? Mm-hmm. And in esports, we only have what they tell us, right? And what they tell us, it's usually like shrouded in mystery, right? It's like this maybe. They never just tell us, right? Because if they overcommit, then that's even worse than undercommitting, in my opinion. Because then you're just setting people up for disappointment. And so what I think is like kind of happening here is, viewership has declined. That's definitely happened, right? It was in the top 15 for a very long time. Now it's in the top 30. And I think people, when they hear that, think, oh no, instead of hearing we're going to get feedback, I think they hear, oh no, there's not going to be support for us, right? Like, it's the same people who've been getting the support this whole damn time are going to be the ones that make the money anyway, right? So why am I spending all of this time, putting effort into being a pro in this particular game if I don't have, 1,000 viewers on my stream? Right, because it's entertainment focused. And I think, like, it's kind of like how you're looking at it, what, like, rose tinted glasses you're looking through, because it's easy to go there, especially when maybe you don't have any other jobs. Maybe this is the game that you happen to be best at, right? And this is the closest you've ever been to becoming a professional. And then you hear, or read a headline like that can be hard to take. But it's all about being like, you know what? If it is, I'm going to get 1,000 viewers, right? I'm going to, I'm going to be pro in this anyway because I love this game, right? And you could do that. Or you could say, I'm going to fight for what I want, and this, and this. There are many appropriate avenues to do it, but you have to make sure you have all of the information. And if you're just taking it from the headline, or if you're not actually, seeing the interview itself, then you're only getting some of it. Right. And when you make opinions off of half the information, they can be wrong. And so, it's easy to get emotional over something like this, especially if you're a player. And you probably are worried, because I'm sure if you're streaming this game, you've noticed the decline in some of the viewers. You've noticed the decline in some of the interest. You've noticed Hearthstone Battlegrounds picking it up on Twitch. You've noticed all of these other things happening, and you hear that, right? That can be tough. But this team, particularly, this TFT team, has probably been, in my experience in the gaming industry, which has been about 5-6 years now, been the most communicative and most responsive to their fans.
Yeah.
Right? And this guy is the head of esports, right? He might not even know that was like what they're even doing for TFT, right? And so that's got to be someone's job. That was definitely someone who, when you're that far up in a company, you just get spark notes of what everybody is doing. Right. And so the guy reporting up to him was probably like, yeah, we're going to be entertainment focused. That's great. I want TFT to be entertaining. Right. And, something that we said in when we talked about the Red Bull Invitational was we wanted them to commit to something. Right. It was either commit to one side or the other. Don't try to do both. And it sounds like they're going to do that. Right. And then they'll iterate. The thing is like, this isn't, and this, since this team has been so communicative, I believe them when I hear that. I can't say that about other publishers, right? Even in the indie space, right? the TFT crew has been so very good at telling us, oh, there's issues here. Oh, we're working on this, right? Mort has been so amazing on telling us these things. And while we don't agree with everything, right, I think he is doing a dashing job just in general. I think that team is doing really, really well. And that's why I have a little bit more trust in this situation, right?
Right.
If we were talking about, some other, games or some other titles, it might be a little different. But this time around, I really think that they are going to listen to us. And if they see that these streamers are pulling in the money, the best way to become a pro in that sense is to hope they do, and hope that these streamers and this entertainment focused situation can evolve into something a little bit more competitive. It's not an all or nothing thing. And in esports, going back to my last point, it always seems like it's all or nothing, right? You have to live in the polls. It's garbage or it's the best thing ever, right? It's the same thing as when, Overwatch people want Fortnite to fail for some reason. Right. Or Overwatch League needs to be the best league there is. It has to be better than LCS. No, we all need to be good. We all need to have a part in the ecosystem, and just the cogs are going to be different sizes. There's middle ground here. There's a lot of nuance involved, and to take it, I think, that seriously, I think you're allowed to be disappointed. You're allowed to have a negative opinion on it based off of your personal history, but we don't know. That was literally like a singular, a couple lines in an interview from someone who was asked at the World Championship. It was probably the last thing on his mind, right? So we'll see. Like, once we get more details, then we can finally say, oh, ooh, yikes. We might even say it on the show. But for now, I'm still going to be cautiously optimistic and feel pretty good about where this is heading. The fact that it's still even top 30 as a secondary game mode is a really, really big deal. So
yeah, and there's going to be a lot of things that push viewership, when mobile, I imagine when mobile comes out, that's going to be a big jump in general of just the interest in the game. Anytime, it's just how games work. When something new comes out, people want to play the new thing, right? My, I guess, almost like counterpoint to your counterpoint, which is devil's advocate. So, whatever, but Riot, the Riot running a league and Riot run esports does not necessarily dictate what TFT esports is, right? Like, we are already seeing tournaments happening. Obviously, Heroes for the Fight Nights are happening. We're very familiar with those. We've casted other tournaments as well. Cruise Invitational, OEL Invitational. There's other tournaments that are out there that are paying, not paying living wages, obviously, because it's so grassroots right now. But like, if and when the spectator client comes out, like, that opens up a lot of space to have grassroots events for these players that want to be pro, not entertainment focused, but pro in TFT esports. And that side can exist, and it can be run by Riot, or it cannot be. Unless Riot puts a kibosh on it for whatever reason, but let's assume that they're going to be laissez-faire with that stuff. That can exist. And then the invitational side and what Riot is deeming right now to be their sort of idea of, okay, this is what's going to be popular, this is going to get viewers. Like, we want viewers for TFT as a game. We want some of them are going to only care about the Riot produced stuff, but then there's going to be other people who are learning about it through that. And then, hey, guess what? There's Cloud9 sponsored players that play in these things. There's this guy Raditz that never stops playing and is in every single challenger lobby, and he wins all the fight nights. Like, hey, I want to go watch this guy. And like, Raditz isn't pulling in thousands of viewers, but like, every time I see him, he's like, when I first was watching, he's getting 15, 20. Now he's getting like 100, 150 if he gets a host from someone. Soju, K3 Soju as well from Cloud9. Like, he's been pushing like hundreds, if not 1,000 viewers. And like, it's growing slowly. If you look at something like Smash Bros, like the Smash Bros community is watching us have this conversation right now and just laughing for 15 years, right? Melee never got support from Nintendo, and in fact, literally has had Nintendo multiple times try to shut them down from doing tournaments. They stopped them from doing Evo, Melee at Evo, some number of years ago. Like, they have actively tried to thwart Melee fans. Like, if the fan base is there and people want to watch / play a game at a competitive level, it's gonna happen. And people jumping ship because Riot says this is not helping that. So
yeah. The other thing I think we all have to think about is the fact that I don't think they expected TFT to be this kind of success, right? They were obviously already working on Legends of Runeterra at the time, and they were probably pushing most of that kind of resource into that game first.
Yep.
And this is all reactive kind of support, right, for TFT. And it's awesome that they're even doing it because they don't have to.
Right.
But that's the other thing about it, right? We can just get nothing and just deal with it, right? Because they don't have to, right? Because they're coming out with we all saw the 10-year anniversary, right? Like, they're coming out with a bunch of stuff that's gonna have competitive scenes around it, particularly the fighting game, the first-person shooter, and Legends of Runeterra, right? And so they're thinking about esports, and I think the biggest thing to me, and this is all assumption, is that they maybe didn't think that TFT would catch it, like that this particular genre would be so fun and would be so engaging for so many people, right? There's like a reason why Hearthstone is in the top 10 again for the first time in a really long time on Twitch, right? It's because of Battlegrounds.
Because of Battlegrounds. And specifically, it's not because of the Hearthstone World Tour or whatever thing that they do. Yeah, go ahead.
Or like the HCS, the Collegiate Series, right?
Yes.
It's like it's a very different kind of situation. It's a much easier game to kind of watch, right? This genre has been really good for streamers to just do if they're bored or this and this, whatever. But there are people who are trying to make it there professionally, and they want the industry to take it seriously. And I think that's their biggest fear, is that when they hear entertainment focused, this will be a joke, or this won't be taken seriously. I'm just going to move on to something else.
And I get that. If you want to be I think it's more like entertainment focused versus esports focused, or like entertainment focused versus sports focused. So it's like, if you want to be an athlete, like, hearing that your sport is entertainment, maybe you want to do something else, right? Like, you don't, and I think the disconnect is that people assumed, because it's an esport, because it's a competitive game, like, oh, it's kind of like auto battlers are kind of like a card game, right? So we're going to assume that it's going to be treated like a Hearthstone, a Magic the Gathering, or whatever. So I'm going to grind out, I'm going to be top of the ladder, I'm going to do this, but it's like, actually, Riot is doing what I believe is the smart thing to do, and like, hey, let's not just take that jump and make the assumption that this is a card game, and let's try something that it maybe makes intuitive sense but isn't what has been done, and take this from a different angle and maybe have it be really successful. And yes, maybe and there are going to be people who don't benefit from that, right? Like, maybe the people who are grinding out Challenger, like, maybe that's not as much of a payoff as they want it to be, and that sucks for them, honestly. Like, that's just the way it is. But I do think that both of these buckets can exist, and they don't need to they don't need to be run by Riot necessarily, as long as we are given carte blanche to run whatever tournaments we want, and if people are interested in those tournaments. If people
the game doesn't even have a spectate mode yet. Right? Like, and there's stuff that the game needs in order to be that kind of competitive esport. There's like logistics and systems that need to be put into Teamfight Tactics and things to help casters, right? A really, really good example is Overwatch didn't add like status effects to their portraits until like halfway through. You know what I mean, for casters and stuff like that, right? And just like Jules said, observer mode, like being able to go into someone's battleground, or there's so much more that needs to be done, and the way that tournaments are being run right now is not the best, right? And there are people like Jules, like Bemi, who are absolutely crushing it, but I feel like they're crushing it with what they have right now. Right?
Yes.
It could be so much better. And imagine if they're crushing it now, right? What it's going to be like with a spectator mode,
Yes.
with, with things to help casters, where casters could control cameras and we don't have to be looking at the same thing,
Right. And I
right?
can look
And
at
that's
the
like
items and read the abilities and see what the stats and all that
just
stuff.
like for everyone, for everyone who's trying to have a time like envisioning like being able, like in Hearthstone, like it took them forever to be able to see both card sets, right? And they couldn't just flip it at the time. You needed to make an entire new. This is like early on. If
Right.
you're doing a tournament still, like you don't know how to do it, like they had to be friends, or
Right.
you had to like make a whole window, flip the window, then put it at the top, right? Like that's not in there. And TFT has so much more that they need to add to make it an even better product. The last thing we want is for them to rush into a huge tournament and just have it be an absolute failure because there's no spectator mode.
Yeah.
Right. And you can, if everyone's there at the same place and they all stream, that's great. But I think the game is in a good place right now to where I think they can start focusing on that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's not going to be as fast, and it's not going to be exactly, in my opinion, what anyone wants.
Right.
Right. I think we might get like 80 to 90% there with some people.
Right.
But rarely do we ever get anything that's like 100% there. And like Fortnite and Apex and all of those battle royales still have a really hard time with their esports, and particularly on observing. Yes, there's 100 people that you need to observe in some of these things, but with all of that money, right? EA still can't get a good observer mode in Apex Legends, right? And like thinking about how much smaller this TFT team is probably is, right? And how much they've already given us, I think we got to kind of like take a step back and tell ourselves, we're already on set 2, right? They gave us a bigger board. They fixed almost like all of the mistakes that I had a problem with in set 1.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of them.
And I think if the biggest issue you have with the game is items or certain champions, that's perfect, right? Because it's exactly what you should. There's no like core gameplay mechanic that seems to be breaking right now. And so, yeah, I think people are overreacting a bit. I do think that there needs to be a way, and I've said this, on the last podcast where it was, hey, if you could have one thing, what would it be? I'd said more support for people, especially on the lower end of the Twitch spectrum, to become professionals in the game. I still want that. Unfortunately, it's hurry up and wait for a lot of these people, and that's esports. You got to be on top of the wave, or else you're missing it. And right now, I think the wave's still getting a little bit bigger. And eventually it could crash, or it could become a tidal wave and take over, but we don't know yet. And I think that's the most anxiety-inducing thing, is we don't know, and we just have to be okay with it right now.
Yeah, I definitely do think there's just the uncertainty is definitely frustrating. Which I mean, we're so early on still, right? Like it's
it feels like the game's been out for like 5 years, but it hasn't even been 6 months.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
So we already have set 2.
Yeah,
right. Like that's awesome. They didn't have to even give us set 2.
Right. I think long story short, for me, it's just people made the assumption, which rightly or wrongly, which was, I'm going to treat this like a card game because this is, in a lot of ways, this rings card game to me, which means I'm going to be a competitive tournament player. I'm going to make my living from either sponsorships or tournament winnings, etc. Whereas Riot is maybe thinking maybe streaming and entertainment is more of the focus, and that's like those are two different skill sets for sure. Like just because you're one does not mean that you're the other, and people either have to adapt or move on or figure out something. So we'll see. This is definitely, I think, at least from my perspective, and I think Boop, you share the same opinion. Like the esports side and the casting and all that is like very, very near and dear to our hearts, obviously, considering
we're the ones that want this to be as you know what I mean? Like we want it to be taken as serious as possible. So like,
and again, I still don't think that even the word casual or entertainment focused doesn't mean it's not going to be taken seriously. I think it's going to be taken very seriously. I just think it's the mindset of it is different. It's not. It's an entertainment. It's WWE versus MMA, in my opinion. and everyone thought this was going to be MMA. So I'm like training and I'm in the octagon and I'm doing real fighting when it's like, well, actually, you need to be marketable and you need to have a cool nickname and a finishing move, and it's basically just very physical acting. It's not actual fighting, and people are upset about that, which makes sense.
Wrestling is real. Okay.
How far south are you? You can't believe that if you're not far enough south in the U.S. You don't have enough of a twang in your voice. Also, Austin 316. Shout outs to the Attitude Era. If anyone was playing that drinking game, I got nothing. That bit's over. But yeah, I think that I've cooled down, calmed down. I've thought this out. I think I got a real handle on this, and I'm confident. This, even just the write-up of the article, I wasn't unconfident. And then actually listening to the interview made me feel even better, honestly. Like, I think they're doing it the best way that they could. And I honestly am glad that they're not like, okay, well, we're going to have a TFT Grand Prix akin to what an MTG Grand Prix would be. And it's like open registration. It's at DreamHack. You can do 1,000 players. And like, they could do that. And maybe that would be good. But like, they've done Hearthstone ones and they just kind of suck, man. Like, it's not great. People don't really care about watching them. There's no, like, there's storylines and whatnot, and like that's great, but like it's not as
there's not enough that's like happening in between, and having this like entertainment, quote unquote entertainment focus will provide those storylines and will create rivalries that people are going to be looking forward to on the next one. Because I think you nailed it with the Hearthstone situation. There's just too many characters in Hearthstone, if that makes sense, right? Like. And it might be a little easier this time around with Teamfight Tactics, but again, you can't satisfy everyone. And I think if you're worried, then like kind of think about why you're worried. And if you're still worried after that, then all right, maybe you can be worried. But there's definitely a place where that's not what you wanted to hear.
Sure, and I think it does. It's not the best for some people, and that's unfortunate for them. But I do think it's the best mindset to think about it moving forward from Riot's perspective. So won't go too much down that rabbit hole, especially since we will be this will be a recurring topic for sure. But one thing I do know is that if the TFT team is looking for two people to work on their esports, specifically TFT,
I have project management experience.
Sure, I can say that too.
I can say that.
Actually, I unironically can say that. But hit us up on Twitter. DMs are open. But before I sell out more, let's jump to a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about TFT patch 9.23. Woo! If you want another way to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast and become a patron today. We've got all sorts of goals and tiers available, and we're open to suggestions as to what the other tiers should be. We'll be putting exclusive content, videos, and other things on the Patreon, as well as giving you early looks at projects that we're working on. Head over to patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast right now. Get cool, calm, and collected, and just have a nice, relaxing rest of the show. No more rants. No more. Wait. No, I got one more. Let me roll up my sleeves for this one. I got one more. We're going to be talking about patch 9.23. Of course, the first patch that includes set 2 and ranked, which is really where the start of my rant comes. We're going to go through the patch notes like we normally do, but I wanted to just talk about the whole experience these past, I guess, three weeks, right? Because we had a week of PBE and then 2 weeks of patch 9.22, which was sans ranked, no ranked for patch for set 2.
Yep.
And I'm going to be honest, I was pessimistic about it when I saw it. If you recall back,
that you were.
If you recall back when Kenobi came on and guested, they that was when set 2 was revealed, and they announced like, hey, we're gonna have 2 weeks off. We're gonna have actually 3 weeks. It's gonna be a week until the patch with set 2 comes out, and then 2 weeks, so one full patch off of ranked. And I said, this is a lot of time, guys. Like, why is ranked going to be down for so long? Like, I get that you don't want to put ranked out immediately, but like, does it need to be 3 weeks? And what is this PBE week for? And it was actually longer. It was on PBE longer than that. It was just everyone could get into the PBE for a week. So it was actually set 2 was out for even longer than that. So it was like a month of set 2 existing before we actually get ranked. And
Tell me
everything that I thought and predicted came true. It was horrible. It was a horrible decision to have that off. And I get there's probably reasons on the back end that I don't understand because I don't see all the data and I don't know like the ramifications of them shipping something bad for ranked. Although actually I kind of do because we've done that and it wasn't that bad, right? They're doing the soft reset and whatever. What it boils down to is I sincerely hope this doesn't happen every time a new set comes out because they dodged a bullet. If like people being, I hope that the viewership and player ramifications from this this time frame that ranked has been gone are understood and seen by the team, because even just my personal playtime and a lot of people that I talk to and are in the community are like, hey, there's this new thing called Hearthstone Battlegrounds. I'm going to try it out. And like, maybe people liked it, maybe they didn't, but I'm not like the last 3 weeks, it's been like, well, do I really like TFT's still there? It's not going anywhere. And I don't have like an ulterior reason to play it, right? Like I can learn, I can do this. I can get all that from streams. Raditz is always streaming and always like, I can watch him play at a higher level than I can play. I don't need to play normal games. I'm not actually getting very useful information unless I get in-houses going with a full group of people. If I'm just playing random games, normal games, it's not useful. I mean, they publicly said that the play rates for normal versus ranked, it was like significantly higher in ranked. Yeah. So why was it down for so long? Like, I get all of the stuff on the back end, that's fine, but like, take the chance. Like, I think, and maybe the numbers weren't bad. Maybe me complaining is just overblowing it, but like, the feeling that I got, and that I have just from people I've talked to, is that it almost like sucked the wind out of the like momentum of set 2 in a lot of ways. Super hyped for set 2. Everyone wanted to play it. It was really cool to get it on PBE. We played ranked in PBE, and then they took it away for 2 weeks. It was like I can almost understand 1 week, but 2 weeks it felt like a punch in the stomach, and like now I'm just recovering from it.
Well, okay, so this is like the other thing, is they kind of did it to themselves, because what had an
100%.
open beta this week? Right? Or not open beta, another closed beta? Legends of Runeterra.
Preview patch, yeah.
Yeah, and so like Legends of Runeterra also taking a lot of the, that away. And I think that that has been a thing that I've talked about at length for a very, very long time. So I'm going to keep it to myself for now. But the overarching theme is that like these games aren't just here to stay. You know what I mean? Like, it is, you got to actively work, and especially at this particular time in a certain game's life cycle, it can be really difficult to overcome that kind of lull.
Yeah.
Right? You just gotta make sure that there's like, the carrot's always at the end of the stick, right? And that wasn't the case, but here I am playing devil's advocate again. Set 2 was so new, right? Like, what if they did it because they knew a lot of new players might be playing, and they didn't want ranked to kind of muddy the waters? I don't know. That's just something I thought.
It's not like normal was going away. I get what you're saying, and I thought the same thing, but it's like you can still just play normals. And like what I have tended to do when a big patch comes out is like I'm just gonna play the first few games in normals just to get a feel for like the pacing. If they change the gold intervals, if I want to see how strong something is, I'll play a couple of games in normals. Then I'll be like, all right, well, there were too many people just like spamming nonsense, and this is a waste of my time. I'm just gonna go in ranked, where if people are doing that, I'm at least winning. You know,
Yeah.
I'm at least gaining LP from that, and maybe I'm all I'm doing is expressing my feeling of it and how negative it was for me in that time, so that it can be heard for the next time this happens. If there's another 2 week thing, like whatever, like you're just they're as long as they're willing to eat the consequences of it, that's fine. I mean, it sucks for me as a host of a TFT podcast if people are playing a bunch of battlegrounds and are like, yeah, TFT is whatever, but like they're going to be casual now and there's 2 weeks off of ranked. It's like there's like 50 other games to play, man. It's like, okay, I get you, man. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be playing. I love this game.
Yep.
Some people aren't like that, and I don't, I don't necessarily want to like turn people off for no reason other than the ranked isn't up for some reason. Like, I mean, we even felt it in like Overwatch. Like they have over time like very much reduced the amount of time that ranked is down because people don't like playing normals. It's not it's fun in its own way, but it's not the same. It's not like if I can play ranked in something else, I'm going to do that because like I want to get better at something. I don't want to just like play a
Yeah, and I
wacky
think
game.
sometimes devs underestimate the fact that, like, especially in today's day and age, most games people are playing for that competitive feeling. There's a reason why battle royales are so popular.
Yes.
There's a reason why there's esports in general. Like back in the day, it was speed running, right? How can you make it through this game on the hardest difficulty? That competitive thing didn't happen until the internet, right? And so it's still kind of new. And I don't think people have been necessarily adjusting to that in the world of video games right now.
Right. And like I get the counterpoint is probably something along the lines of, well, we wanted to give people time to try. They wanted to, we wanted to give them a feel for set 2 without feeling like they had to go into ranked. I mean, okay, but also those people weren't giving set 2 a try. They were playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds. They were playing Legends of Runeterra. They were playing, although for what it's worth, you probably should have been playing Legends of Runeterra even if ranked was out, just because of it was only out for a week. But
people are digging it.
Oh, I know. I know. Like the Battlegrounds thing is the biggest thing for me, and like I personally haven't played Underlords in a while because that game didn't speak to me. But I could see people like wanting to play Underlords ranked versus TFT unranked, and I wouldn't blame them at all. If you liked both games equally.
Just to get that competitive feel.
Just to feel like you're. Like, it's not even the competitive feel as much. It's like if you want to feel like, I think there's a Here's the Storm podcast called Into the Nexus. Garrett Weinzierl is one of the hosts. He's a big Blizzard podcaster. If you guys are unfamiliar with him, they call normal games in Heroes of the Storm, or at least they used to when I listened to the show years ago, the Clown Fiesta. Like, or no, they called it Wacky Mode. Clown Fiesta was an Overwatch thing. They called it Wacky Games or Wacky Mode, where like if you're playing Heroes of the Storm and like there's an inherent like competitiveness to it if you're playing Heroes of the Storm like 5v5 or League 5v5 or Dota 5v5, you don't necessarily want to go in and just play like a wacky thing and not care. Like if you're caring about your result but no one else is caring and you're not getting anything inherently in the game from winning, like your experience there is not actually valuable, right?
Well, and I think a big part of what you're saying is the fact that you might still be able to get something out of that because you might be playing with your friends, right? You might be on the same team as your friends, but in TFT, you're playing by yourself. You still might be in the lobby with your friends, right? But it's different. It's different. Well, yeah.
If you're in a lobby with your friends and you're all trying, that's fine. But if you're just going into normal games, which a lot of us had to do, Like if I'm trying to see if what I'm trying to do when ranked isn't on is find out if my comp is good enough for ranked, I can't necessarily do that, and in fact can be tricked into that because I'm gonna hyper roll woodland druids. Do I know right now if that's a good comp or not and I can bring it? I have no idea. I won like 3 games in normals with it, but I don't know the rank of the players I'm playing against. I don't know what they were going for. I can look at their items and be like, these are probably not good. So, I'm not even trying to be demeaning to the people I was playing against. It's just like I'm not gaining the same information. Like you need to cut your teeth in ranked, and like you need to lose. You need to find those barriers, right? If I'm not getting punished for my mistakes, I'm not gonna learn. And then when I get to ranked, I'm gonna get dumpstered and feel like I'm gonna feel even worse, right? I bet there are gonna be people that played normals this whole time and we're trying to get better, and they're going to go into ranked tomorrow and they're going to get dumpstered and they're going to feel awful because they probably did fine, or they did better than maybe they should for their rank in ranked, and they're just going to lose, and it's going to feel bad, and maybe that player doesn't play anymore. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, these are single instances, but to me that's big.
Losing doesn't feel good, right? And what's the incentive to keep things going, right? What is the incentive to keep playing? And that's something that I think they didn't really think about.
Yeah.
It's because if it was like for 2 weeks, then I'd get it, if that makes sense, right? Like,
no, I don't even want to give them that. No 2 weeks. I'm saying it. I'm putting it here. 1 week maximum, and ideally, I don't even want that. Just give me ranked. I don't know what they did last time. They fixed ranked in a couple days. Maybe it was just like an overtime thing that they had to do, and like monetarily they can't do it. Whatever. I'll give you 1 week. Give it, 1 week. Remember, to figure it out.
We built League of Legends.
Right.
If there's anything that we learned from
by that, I mean I'm going to keep voicing my opinion. This is my podcast. This is our podcast. It doesn't matter. We can say whatever we want. We're not sponsored. We're not sponsored by Riot. We don't have to. I'm not here to butter up Riot, although we do love you. And if you are looking for people to be buttered up,
I have project management and buttering up experience.
Yes, I am. I'm
butter
full of butter.
But honestly, Butter Queen 2016.
But also, I'm gonna be candid about how I feel, and I did not agree with this, huge period of time in my mind for it, and no, and to address your other point, Boop, it's not even the losing that's the problem. It's I'm playing and I feel like I'm getting better and I feel like I'm learning something, but you're actually not in normals unless you're in a group of people who are all trying, but you don't know that in normals because you're not actually progressing anything. In ranked, if the people are bad, you eventually grow out of that, right? Like if you just keep winning, you're going to surpass them and you're eventually going to get to a point where you're getting challenged, right? And then maybe you have to change and you learn and adapt.
You're not learning the actual game, if that makes sense.
It's like playing with bumpers in bowling.
Yeah. That's totally.
Bowl to 298. Bowl to 298 in bowling. It's like, yeah, well, you did this weird ricochet thing every time, and you never got a gutter ball. Like, did you really learn? No. And then when you go play without the bumpers, you like hit 15 gutter balls. I don't know how bowling works.
I can tell.
I don't know how many frames are in bowling.
That's very, very obvious.
No, it's 10 frames. I know that. Actually, I said that very confidently, but I didn't actually know that. I assumed. But you're not learning, and I feel like that's how normal is. And yes, the game can still be fun, but people are playing it for that competitive reason. At least I am, and a lot of the people that are in our community are. And that's my 2 cents. That was more than 2 cents. That was like $1.25. That's my $1.25 for you.
Any $1.25s in the chat? Okay. Yeah, I mean the biggest thing is just to always remember that they're iterating, and it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to have these emotions, because without them, how are they going to iterate? So that's why it's very important to professionally and humanly say your opinions. Blev was a great example of how to do it correctly.
I'll take sentences that have never been said before for 400, Alex.
You got to give yourself more credit, my friend.
But no credits, only money. Oh no, wait, that's space racism. Never mind. Cut that Star Wars Episode 1 reference strike it from the record.
We're striking it from the record, everyone.
Any strikers in chat? Okay, nope. Okay, let's actually talk about the patch here. All these people are like, I just played the game and I had fun these 2 weeks. What are these idiots talking about? Well, I hope that you, dear friend, have stuck around this long because we're going to actually talk about the patch now.
There it is.
We got you.
We got you eventually.
We got there eventually.
Yeah.
Only 16 minutes. I mean, this is you're getting a full 45 minutes of rant here. So this is, I mean, really, this is a treat, or it's torture.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Depending on what you
depending on who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Teamfight Tactics. Teamfight Tactics patch 9.23 notes. Greetings, tacticians. This is from Riot Beer Nana. The big news this patch is the return of Ranked Queue. Just went on a whole tirade about that. On the balance front, we made a host of small changes and fixed a bunch of game-altering bugs. The method to our madness focuses on shifting some power into Tier 2 and Tier 3 3-star champions while pulling some power from stronger Tier 1 champions. We're glad we took the extra patch to get all the new set jitters out, but overall, we're excited we're really excited about the state of Rise of the Elements. There's multiple paths to victory, and each game plays out differently. So good luck on your climb. They even got that.
To me says that they agree with you, Flev.
Yes.
Just like the way that sounded, I think they agree.
Yeah. I just it's over now for me. I don't need to keep harping on it. It's over. I just hope that they learn from that, and that's why I'm being so passionate about hey, next time this happens, no 2 weeks for me.
Not that one.
Nope. Try again.
Not that one.
Okay, let's take this portal. Okay, blah blah blah. Let's get into it. We got the True Damage Little Legends, which. By the way, I did spend.
Oh my God! Can I tell this?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Do you know what I'm about to say?
I mean, I was there when it happened. So.
Okay. So it was fight night, and it was super fun, as always.
It was game night. You're confusing Heroes Hearth fight night with
okay.
Little Legends podcast game night on Fridays at 8.
It's because I'm a boomer. But so I was like, okay. So last time I tried to buy these Little Legends, they were in the store, and the store was broken. And then I was like, okay, so once the store is back up, I am going to buy so many Little Legends. It'll be gross.
True.
And so I went to the store and I bought a pack of something, and then realized a little later on.
You were saying, I'm like, ooh, what'd you get? And you're like, okay, I got this Senna skin. I got this skin. And I'm like, that's weird because none of those are champions that are in the game right now. And none of those are certainly Little Legends.
And so I bought I had bought the $20 pack of just not even skins. These are skins I need to spend some resources to buy on.
Yeah.
And so they went into my collection, and I didn't get to buy any of the Little Legends. And then finally I was like, I gotta buy these Little Legends. They're so cute. I gotta get me a Kiki.
Kiki is pretty strong.
I know we were doing some Kiki things during that game.
Kinky Kiki is a
there's
thing.
a pun for you.
Yeah.
We're getting Kiki. I'm sorry, everybody. Blev is a bad influence on me.
It's true.
But then I ended up getting my 2-star Kiki. I probably would have gotten a 3-star if I had spent the money, but I ended up spending, on accident, $40 on League of Legends yesterday. And it's all, since we do this podcast, since we're gaming professionals, it will be a tax write-off for me.
I did the same thing where I'm like, You know what? This is content for the show. Did I record the openings? Nope. Am I using? Am I incorporating them into the show? Yes, literally right now and never again.
I write off all of my haircuts and clothes too, because I use them as as a freelance commentator. For those of you at home listening, you gotta tax write off everything everything you can.
That's if you're doing things above the table and you're on the books. See, I'm not. So
which I'm totally doing.
I mean,
I'm
I
100% above the books.
Yeah, smart.
Anyway, yeah. So after accidentally spending $40, I did end up getting my Kiki.
That's good.
But yeah, I ended up only getting like one of the skins in that first $20 pack too. So that was a $20 skin, and it was Christmas Maokai, which is like almost as old as League of Legends.
I mean, no, Maokai wasn't even out when I was playing, so.
All right, okay, boomer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All I will say about how much I spent was I have all 3 of the maps, which are pretty cool.
And the Freljord one's awesome.
B, I have a level 3 of each of the different types of Little Legend. So, I mean, not every single skin, obviously, but there's 3 different Little Legends. I have at least 1 tier 3 of each of the 3, so it was not a small amount of money that I spent on these things, but I don't even feel bad because they are really awesome, and Kiki is certainly top tier, just in general. Not only does Kiki have the best aesthetic, but also has like far and away the best emotes, which for me, an emote needs to be annoying. It either needs to like look annoying, it needs to do something that's hilarious if you spam it really quickly, or it needs to make a really weird noise or an annoying noise.
Kiki does all of them.
I don't know if she makes. Oh yeah, no, she does make an annoying noise. Yeah,
the hula hoop noise is pretty annoying.
Yeah, it's all 3. It's S tier. Probably is going to get nerfed in the next patch, but I'm just going to keep running it until it happens. But yeah, I mean, don't spend your money on anything you don't want to. But if you do want to spend your money on something, I would suggest these ones because they're really cool. Hashtag actually not an ad, so. Take it for what it's worth. All right, let's take a look at some of these traits that changed. We got Glacial Stun changed from 20%, 40%, 60% to 20%, 35%, 50%. So just a strict nerf here. Light, the total heal amount is now based on the dying champion's health rather than those receiving the heal. That's a
big deal?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't actually know what that change is, but
so if the champion dying has a high amount of health versus a low amount of health will affect the heal everyone else gets, as opposed to the champ that say Vayne and Yorick would be getting a % health heal based on their health, right? And so now it's going to be they're going to get a heal based off of that one unit's health, so it'll be different every single time, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you're going to get less of a heal when Vayne dies than you will when Yorick dies.
Okay, whereas before you would get the same amount of heal
every time a light unit dies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Exactly, because it was based on their % HP.
Okay.
So yeah. So that's the difference. And so what that's going to do, and you're actually going to see a very interesting change where Vayne gets a slight. We'll talk about it a little later, but Vayne got a slight level 1 buff. I think to do a little bit of compensation for this.
Yes. And a nerf to her tier 3, which is also a compensation. So okay, that makes sense. That's I guess burf kind of for light. Ocean mana is per second is now 15 30 50, or was 15 30 50 is now 15 35 60. So Ocean mana actually getting a buff, which is interesting considering their popularity in the meta right now. Shadow bonus damage is going from 50%. 100% to 45 85. It's a pretty big nerf to foreshadow. and maybe foreshadowing their demise.
Stop. Low hanging fruit, my friend.
Mark your square. Mark your square on your bingo boards. Someone's going to make that eventually, and it's going to be
I hope so.
Hilarious. And then Warden bonus armor 125, 275, 450 to 150, 300, 450. So
they're like, no one's brought in 6.
No one's running 6 Wardens. Yeah. If you are, we're not giving it to you. We're not giving it to you.
This is like, guys, don't run 6 Wardens.
Or like same crazy guys running 6 Wardens. Just keep doing your thing, man. But yeah, I mean, Warden definitely seemed like it was an afterthought.
The hard part about Warden 2 is a lot of those champs, like aesthetically, are really cool. So I'm glad that they're going to get some more playtime, like Thresh and Nautilus.
Yeah.
And Nautilus is actually getting a buff later on as well.
I think
Nautilus might be a bit of an issue moving
forward. Well, Ocean Mages is already a pretty strong comp in the meta from what I've seen, and both Ocean and Warden, which are inherent to that comp, are getting buffed, and some of the champs are getting buffed. So,
yep.
Let's see.
Well, let's talk about some of that buff.
Yeah.
Buff killing then. All right, so
take it away.
3-star ability scaling is next. So what they say is we want to make sure that higher cost 3-star champions are an exciting power up worth the chase of getting them. This is already true for AD HP scaling champs and tier 1 champions, but much less so far for others. So we're buffing the 3-star abilities for some tier 2 and tier 3 champs. I think that this is a great change because I didn't know that this is why I felt that way. But I've been able to build rank 3 Aatrox and rank 3 Jax many times over the last couple weeks. I don't know how, but it's been happening, and I just don't feel like they got that that much better. And this is why I've realized is just like, the difference between a tier 3 Vayne versus a tier 2 Vayne a Nasus too feels so big. Right. Same thing with your 4 cost units, but tier 3 2 cost unit, it felt very meh. Like you really, they're gold now. Even when I got a tier 3 Kindred, right? It was good. It was probably the best of those, but it still could be better. Which they buffed pretty mightily, as we'll talk about. So the tier 2 champs that are getting buffed are Jax, LeBlanc, Nico, Syndra, and Volibear. They're all getting their damage buffed by 50 to 150, and then the Thresh Shield is going to get buffed at level 3 by 50. They were a little bit more conservative, I think, with the Thresh Shield because since it's already in Ocean Mage, and he's probably going to be casting it a little bit more often now with the Warden buff, that'll be good. For all you AP Thresh mains for those big shields, I want to see that build. That'll be on the build bounty. I want to do like a shield AP comp. That could be cool.
There was I won't repeat it on the show because I've already used up my swear for the show. But there was a very colorful line that was said at game night about Thresh and his greediness with his shield. So
all right,
only game nights.
If you want that kind of content, please join us. We want to get to 2 lobbies, friends. I feel like we can do it.
We can absolutely do it.
All right. Tier 3. Aatrox damage, Ezreal damage, Kindred damage, and I do want to point out the Kindred damage because the tier 3 Kindred damage is moving up 150 points.
Yeah.
The tier 3 Ezreal damage is moving up 200 points. The tier 3 Aatrox damage is moving 250 points, right? So it's just interesting that I didn't know that this was the problem, but I still felt, and I named all of those characters, right? Like, I definitely felt it. Nautilus damage moving up 100 from 300 to 400, and the stun duration moving up a second to 6 seconds. And we all know from Sejuani ult that 6 seconds, and Leona ult that 6 seconds is a really long time. And then Scion damage is 200, 400, 600 to 200, 400 to 800. So those tier 3s got pretty big buffs. So I think it's going to be harder to tier 3 them now because their stats, I mean, the lowest change is 150, it looks like. And so tier 3 rank 3 champ is going to give you a ton of stats. So we'll see how this works, but only for as Aatrox, Ezreal, Kindred, Nautilus, and Scion. I don't know how I feel about the Scion one, but maybe because Shadow got a little bit of a change, they're giving him some damage.
Yeah, Shadow got to change, and like I'm fine with a tier 3 cost unit, or
Getting that
level
kind of
3 cost unit getting that treatment, because like yeah, you're spending an additional what 18 gold. That is just to buy the units to get to that point, which is a big investment. Plus, like you're spending gold. Either you're spending gold effectively by holding them on your bench, or you're spending gold to actively reroll for them. Like there should be a payoff, right? Or else it's just
Yeah.
like, well, I'm getting my level 2 Scion, and then I'm just never trying to get the tier 3. Now it's like there's actually payoff to do it. You're getting an extra 200 damage plus the health and damage bonus just from their auto attacks anyway. So
Well,
I
and
like
like
it.
sometimes you just like for some reason you're like, why are there so many Nocturne popping up in my
Mm-hmm.
in my pack? You just start grabbing them, right? Because
Yep.
you happen to be going that direction anyway, and then all of a sudden you've got a 3-star Nocturne, and just because it just happens to be in
Yep.
your pack.
Yep.
But the one cost units did feel like such a satisfying upgrade, and I think that's why hyper rolling was so much fun too.
Mm-hmm.
And so now like I like it. I like the changes overall. I think some of them might be more on the too much side, but like the other thing that we have to think about too is that Woodland got a little bit of a nerf. As no, it didn't. Woodland is well, I mean, keeping Woodland past like round 5 is a problem, but
Mm-hmm.
these Woodlands are gonna getting damage too. So if you do rank 3 Nico and LeBlanc, you're getting more out of them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
too. So that might be a little bit more viable, a little bit longer, and could adjust some strategies.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the like hyper roll woodland druid comp, and like getting the tier 3s of everything essentially, and like give it a little bit of payoff to it. It doesn't need to be the best thing. It doesn't need to be like an amazing, but I'd like it to like I want there to be a reason to get a tier 3 of a unit, because then it's like if not, then it's just like, well, there's no decision, right? I get my level 2 Scion, and then every other Scion is just blank at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now there's like a decision to be made. Do I want to invest in the extra 200 damage on the ability, or do I not? And having that
Yeah.
decision there is, I think, interesting.
Speaking Ezreal, a tier 3 Ezreal, it's funny too because like if you look up at the trait nerfs, Glacial gets nerfed, Ezreal
Mm-hmm.
gets a 200 damage buff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that Kindred buff though, I think we might be seeing more of that for sure. And we'll see on Nautilus and Thresh. 6-second stun is pretty huge.
Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid of Nautilus and Thresh. Once I think it might have been Professor TFT that told me to just like go hyper roll Ocean Mages, and I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, it's really good, and turns out he was not wrong. So, all right, let's move on here. We're going to get some general champion balance. I'll start with the tier 1s here. Ivern Shield going from 200, 400, 600 to 200, 350, 500. Pretty big, or maybe not pretty big, but a relatively big nerf there. Maokai Passive Heal going from 100, 200, 300 to 100, 175, 250.
So remember, LeBlanc and Nico did both get buffed.
Yes.
So,
So yeah, these.
and yeah. And Maokai's heal and Ivern's shield was very strong.
Yeah.
So, and so I think these are good changes. I still think
Yep.
I still think the damage was the issue with Woodland a lot of the time, and with more damage, you still might be able to hold on to
Huh.
this a little bit
You
longer.
just get an extra unit, so that always ends up being good. Nasus ability damage going from 35, 70, 105 to 50, 70, 90. This is a sort of a theme that we're seeing throughout, is that the tier 1 version of the ability is actually getting a little bit of a buff, going from 35 to 50, and then tier 2 staying the same, and then tier 3 is falling off a little bit in line with the hey, you can still hyper roll, but it's not going to be like insano, like you win the game if you get your tier 3 1 cost. It's going to be just a little bit better, which I think is a really good way to do that. And then Nasus bonus health is getting the same treatment of the Tier 2 stays the same. Tier 1 getting a slight buff, and Tier 3 getting a nerf from 600 down to 550 bonus health. Is it? I forget. Is it Talia or Talia?
I honestly believe this might be the hardest name in esports. It is. I feel like I hear it differently every time. I heard Talia the other day.
Someone told me before, and I don't remember what
it's Talia. It's Talia.
It's Talia. Okay.
Yeah, it's Talia.
Talia mana going from 50-85 to 50-80, which is
minimal.
Fine. Yeah, minimal. Talia ability stun duration going from 1.5 to 2 seconds. Again, just like little buffs here. I like Talia, actually. She fits in that like early composition of the mage comp, but is not like super broken because Mountain is good early, and she's an early mage that you can run, but you're not necessarily keeping her, or you could. So
it kind of reminds me of how we treated Fiora back in the day, right? It's a good person to hold items.
Yes.
You might not keep them there.
Transitional unit for sure.
Yep.
Vayne ability damage is getting that 1-star treatment of the Tier 1 is getting buffed from 8% to 9%, Tier 2 staying the same, and then Tier 3 going from 16% down to 15%. And then the Vladimir ability damage and heal amount is actually getting a different treatment. It's going from 200, 350, 500 to 200, 325, 450. So more of a just flat nerf there. We'll probably come across it in the bottom with the bug fixes and other stuff, but I'm wondering if they fixed the bug where Vladimir wasn't actually getting the appropriate amount of healing. So I definitely, yesterday specifically, had a death cap on him, and he was dealing 8...
It's in there. I see it.
Oh, is it? Okay, good.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that because there's another one that is a nerf to a champion. They should have just put in. They should have just put in here.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tier 2 Malzahar minion health going from 300 to 250.
And I know that pains Mort because Malzahar's his favorite champion, and he's been asked about if he would actually nerf his favorite champion. And he said yes, but it hurts me to do it.
I am also personally affected by it because during our game night, we had a very close round where Malzahar minion won it for you twice.
True.
So I'm okay with this. Rek'Sai ability damage 200, 550 to 900. Doing that buff at rank 1, nerf at rank 3 to 250, 550, 850. Skarner getting a bit of a buff. Skarner mana 0 to 75 to 0 to 65. That's actually kind of nice because he gets a. If you guys don't know this, he gets attack speed after he ults. And so that he's going to start getting higher DPS because of it, which is good. Skarner armor moving up from 30 to 35, so he's going to be doing a little bit more damage because he's going to be attacking faster for longer and also be a little bit more durable. Thresh ability shield 2, 3, 4 going to 250, 400 to 600. All right.
Ocean mate.
Let's get those death caps on the Thresh guys. Yasuo ability hits going from 357 to 456.
Take that.
Those all
tier
seem like
3 Yasuo.
Smaller than a lot of the other things we've talked about already.
I mean, just like
I think that Skarner
tweaks.
one might actually be pretty nice.
I think,
but he's also kind of a garbage champion, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, he fit in he was kind of the odd champ out in that sort of
but
Predator's comp.
Put it into perspective again. Since he's going to be attacking faster, he's going to be able to proc that Predator trait a little bit more quickly, and so we'll see where that leads him. But just because it doesn't say damage buff doesn't mean he didn't get one.
Right. I definitely want there to be more of a reason to run Skarner. So this is certainly pushing towards that. All right, let's go tier 3 units. Ezreal mana going from 0.40 to 0.30, and then his cast time is getting cut in half from 0.5 seconds to 0.25 seconds.
They want Ezreal to be someone, is what
I'm glad. I like Ezreal.
He's such a cool champion in general. I play a lot of Ezreal in regular League of Legends.
He was my old main from 2010, and it was that skin, the frozen Ezreal.
Really?
Skins. Yeah.
Nice.
From way back then. So I really wanted him to be good, and he just didn't quite get
Well,
there.
Ashe is getting a buff too.
Yeah.
And if you're a classic League of Legends player, Ashe might be feeling good. I know Jules likes herself some Ashe.
Yep. Gotta love that Ashe. I'm gonna go ahead with these tier 4s.
Okay. Ashe attack speed going from 0.7 to 0.8.
Big.
Brand ability damage going from 250, 450, 650 to 300, 450 to 600. So that buff at tier 1, nerf at tier 3.
This is good. This is actually really good for Brand though, because he's a 4-cost unit, so you're actually going to have him at tier 1 for a longer period of time than normal. So that extra tier 1, like the tier 1 for a 1-cost unit buff is like, okay, whatever. But for a 4-cost unit, it's actually really relevant. And then tier 2 is the same, and tier 3 is slightly nerfed. But how often are you having a tier 3 Brand? Not super often.
Yeah, you're probably not seeing it because tier 3 Brand gets 20 bounces on the bolt. But anyway, Brad bounces.
Brad bounces.
Yep. 4, 6, 20. And then 5, 6, 20. That was an accident, but I'm going to say Brad from now on.
Yep.
I think that's what Dog says.
You're a Brad loyalist.
I'm more of a Kyle loyalist. Anyway, Malphite HP 8 to 850. That's set 1. Olaf mana 0.75. This is actually pretty big, 0 to 90. So you're going to have a much better chance at bursting down the Olaf before he ults. York Ghoul health 750, 1250, 1750 to 600, 1000, 1400. That's a huge nerf. York Ghoul attack speed is going from 0.8 to 0.7. And basically, York is going to be the one who dies first a lot in your light comps, and he's going to be providing, outside of Nasus probably, the highest heal for the rest of your team. So you got to think about that as well. Like York, even though he's not going to be doing a lot more damage, he is gaining some utility.
Right.
So we'll see what that means moving forward.
A burf, potentially.
It's more of a nerf for sure, but potentially a burf.
Right. Indirect burf. Then tier 5, the champ changes are Singed. He's getting a health nerf from 1050 down to 950. His ability damage is going from 250, 500, 2k to 200, 400, 2k. And Tarek health is actually getting a buff from 850 to 900. So not too many changes in the tier 5
but
space.
That Tarek buff, I think, is nice because how many times has he died during the cast of Bolt for you?
Ugh,
like every time.
Yeah.
So maybe just 50 extra health is going to help you.
And Warden buff too. He's getting a Warden buff. So I like Tarek a lot. He's just one of those ones that's like Crystal is like kind of blank, and Warden is just like whatever. So he's one of those units that you need him to be good, irrespective of his.
Yes, kind of like Gnar. He was a shapeshifter, but like in the
Gnar,
sense of things.
Except Gnar was also good because he had 3 different ones, and
what I'm saying, I'm thinking just in Yordles, right? Like if Gnar wasn't in Yordles, it would never have worked, right? What you're saying is that the unit needs to be good enough to build around in order to build that certain synergy.
Right.
So, all right, items. Frozen Heart attack speed. This is, I think, the 3rd nerf in a row for this item. 35% to 25%. This is a huge nerf. Everyone pay attention. Guardian Angel can no longer be healed during the resurrecting state. So Guardian this is a Zed nerf.
It's a Zed nerf, and it's a oh god, I'm blanking. What is that item called? Redemption. Yes.
Hey. Yeah, you just
Red Dead Redemption.
Pat on the butt.
Didn't need to go there, but we did.
Yeah.
Pat in the ash. There we go. That's what it was. Yeah. Nope, not going.
A little pat in the ash. Okay.
Little ash tap.
Iceborne Gauntlet attack speed slow, 35% to 25%. That's big. That's really big. And there's also a bug fix for Iceborne Gauntlet that is also going to nerf it because the attack speed slow would persist over rounds, and it no longer does that. And then Ionic Spark, Ionic Spark damage is 100 to 90, which, in my opinion, just take the item out. This is like I don't think we need this item personally, but it's here.
Yeah,
That and
yeah,
Static Shiv, I think, are two of the most complicated items in the game because it's just damage. Right, you attack 3 times, you'd get damaged.
I think they can take that concept and do something cool with it rather than just, oh, you get zapped. It's like whenever they cast a spell, summon a York Ghoul or something like that. Or every 3 attacks, you create a just like a summoned unit would be kind of cool because it's like kind of damage, but it's like make it weak or whatever. Like it doesn't, those are always like cool types of items in like Diablo or something where it's like every time you attack, you have a chance to summon a little imp that will attack them or something. I don't know. That's an interesting way that they could do that, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Ranked. Hey, it's on. Time to prove how well you can. Blah blah blah. Everyone is going to be reset back to iron. So they're doing the hard rank reset and a soft MMR reset, which they talked about. Basically, everyone's starting back at iron, but your MMR is like kind of tied to you. It's still reset, but like challenger players aren't necessarily going to be tied or going to be ranked up against people who are just starting. So it's like still a little bit of your MMRs there, but you got to build it back up. What I'm thinking is that there's MMR differentiations, but not MMR like you have more MMR. It's just you're in a different bracket. That's how I think. I mean, they're not revealing exactly how it is, but it's like everyone's at the same spot, but challenger players are green and new players are blue and diamond players are red, etc. So like you're only playing people who are in like the colors that are near you, but you're all at the
you're
same.
not getting absolutely spanked by people who are way better
Yes,
than you.
exactly.
Because that's not a fun experience either.
Exactly.
So,
They are now so like the old beginning no losing LP in your first 5 games, and then also they're implementing the no losing LP for placing 4th place or better. Every 4th place is going to feel like a win or at least a push, right? I think you can still get 0. But yes, so we're getting some general bug fixes as well. There's going to be general improvements to melee pathing.
there's some good ones here. I don't know if we should go over all of them because some of them are just like text tools.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, why don't you pick like 2 or 3 of these? Because I've got 3 like ready to go. If you want me to go first. So
yeah, you go first.
Okay, number 1. I thought this is just how the champ worked, because that's how it kind of works in regular League of Legends. Diana's orbs can no longer hit multiple targets. Like, I remember being like, I think Diana needs a nerf. Oh, that's not what was supposed to be happening. And so Diana will not be doing obscene amounts of damage for no reason anymore. It'll be more. But I did. Yeah, okay, so this is the thing about that. I kind of like the fact that her ability was kind of like the assassin part of her, right? Where like that's where a lot of the damage came from.
Right.
But they didn't. The other one was the fixed Iceborne Gauntlet's attack speed slow, occasionally persisting across rounds. And it's like, okay. And then so a couple other ones is spatula items now correctly no longer double the non-spatula component stats. That was like something they like specifically said was going to happen. They've had like a month to do it. And then that's there. And then Inferno Cinder just didn't work for some champion. So that one's pretty funny to me. What about you? Any highlights here for you?
Yeah, one of them is, of course, my boy Mundo now won't cast his ability when there's nothing in range that it could hit. Good.
Okay, that's a buff. Yeah,
that's a buff / quality of life thing. Azir, nope, don't care about that. The one that I was talking about before was they fixed the healing text on Vlad to show the proper amount. Okay, so maybe it was actually working, but the text was definitely wrong because I specifically checked it. I was like, okay, he should be healing for 900 here or 850 or whatever, and it was only healing for 500. So good that they're fixing that. And then this is another one that I like just because it's so annoying when it happens, but Kog'Maw's ability is adjusted to miss far less often. It just felt so bad when like especially if it's like the Kog'Maw is the last unit and you're going against them, they kill your second to last unit and then they start moving, and like Kog'Maw like needs to really pop off here, and then he just misses the first ult, and it's like, well, okay, guess
and
we
the
lose.
time it took for him to ult too, it's like he could have been auto attacking, and yeah,
it's like I wish I could turn his ult off. At some point.
This says Ashe. Actually, we should talk about this just real quick.
Yeah.
So fixed Ashe's 3-star scaling to be the intended 250% value. I don't know what the previous value is, but 3-star Ashe now works. And fixed an issue where Ashe could not proc Blade Master while her ability was active. So she should have been getting the double auto attacks on her ability, which would have made her absolutely brutal.
Wow.
But it wasn't happening, so like Blade Master Ashe could totally be a thing. I'd love to see rangers and like the type like range characters like that. I know Ashe isn't a ranger; I'm still adjusting. But
wait, no, Ashe is a ranger.
Ashe is Crystal Ranger. She's a Crystal Ranger, right?
Yeah, she's not glacial anymore.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to see rangers just kind of come back, man. That was my comp back in the day, and I want to play it more.
Yeah, I think once people kind of realized that Twitch was not the promised land, he was just more like an enabler for poison, and you could actually use Kog'Maw to the same effect, which I mean, I don't want to say that I innovated that, mostly because I didn't. I just did it and it wasn't that good, and then people perfected it. But yeah, it's like, well, you really want to, you essentially just want to be running Kindred and one other one, and the other one doesn't really matter. It could be Ashe, it could be Twitch, it could be Ezreal, but it doesn't particularly matter which one it is. It's just like you just want, or it could be Varus as well, and it actually might prefer it to be Varus because then you're closer to Inferno. So it's really, Rangers are Kindred's world, and everyone else is just living in it. So
Yep.
Definitely want to see. I think Ashe was one of those minions early on that people, champions early on that people wanted to play and played a lot, and now it's kind of dwindled again because, again, Crystal is like only half of a trait essentially, because it's not triggered enough, so you don't run those units. But yeah, I think the other ones you can kind of look through and see which are your favorite. We'll post the patch notes in the description. But yeah, I mean, overall, obviously very happy about this patch because ranked is finally back in. I think all the changes, essentially, I don't really disagree with anything. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is mages, and specifically ocean mages. It's already good. Brand is getting technically a burf, but not really. It's effectively just a buff for what you're going to see him mostly doing. And it's going to be really
both Wardens in that comp got buffed.
Wardens got buffed. Ocean itself got buffed. Like tier 3 Vlad got nerfed technically, but that's fine. Brand got buffed. Like mages and ocean mages specifically looking to be really strong in this patch, so we'll see if they need to get adjusted in the interim in between 9.23 and 9.24. But what are your thoughts overall, Boop, on this patch?
Outside of some of like the tier 3 changes, not tier 3, the rank 3 changes, on the 3-star ability scaling, some of those seem very, very high. But like you said, like it's a lot of money to get them, and you're going to get those a little bit more often than your 4-star units, and they did need to feel a little bit stronger. So overall, I think it's great. They really want Ezreal to do something. They really want, Taric got buffed too, Skarner got buffed. So we'll see how those units do. We might be able to see some synergies. Initial impression is it'll probably remain very, very similar to what we were seeing already. Because like it would be a little annoying to have this patch for a month and then for them to change everything going into ranked, right? Could you imagine? And so like I'm glad that I'm going to be able to run. I might not be able to run, and I'm sorry for unleashing this on a lot of games because we got a lot of Predator Ionic Spark.
Yeah, we did.
Winning combinations here.
Yeah, some people really liked that when we talked about it last week.
It's but I think it still works because you're using it more for the proc than than the damage. So we'll see how it goes, but you might be a little less consistent on it.
I think it's going to feel a little bit less oppressive, but for the most part, will probably be the same. So, all right, let's. We'll close out with just a couple of winning comps here. We are running. We've been going for quite a while here, but so we got a. This one is interesting. This one's from Jerikel. It is a. This one was given with the note a glacial twitch, which I can now only imagine because just spraying and praying and just freezing the whole board actually seems pretty powerful. And it was good enough for a W for them, so that was an interesting one.
Yep, we got Sphinx here with 2 Terrix, 3-star Nocturne.
Oh, classic Sphinx comp always goes Nocturne.
Always goes Nocturne. We got that Nami. We got those Mystics in there. We got some Mountain. I wonder if this was a Mountain map. Trying to figure out what Kiana fits into that, unless it was for
Kiana's
that.
An assassin, and then the Maokai would be Mountain. I would imagine it's probably Mountain. Or yeah, because it doesn't need Cloud. Or I guess it could have been Cloud actually, because
because of the Janna. Oh, maybe because Cloud Kiana is good. Anyway, so that one's from Sphinx Boy. We got some Crystal action.
Yeah, that actually makes me think one thing that they could add for these like standings in like match history is like,
items.
Well, A, items, but B, what element was the map when they played it?
Yeah.
That's actually extremely relevant. That's actually extremely relevant. Last one here that we'll talk about. We might as well just say it. This one's from Yun Hao. This was the Predators. And it looks like no Static Shiv here, but an Olaf instead with some items. Oh man, the Swordbreaker Olaf, that's pretty strong. A Mundo with a wow, I'm
Warmogs.
Oh,
man, so he went the Ludens direction with the Predator proc. That's cool too.
Yeah, it's cool. I tried it. I didn't like it that much, but it's still.
It only works on Kog'Maw,
right.
and the ult has to hit. So and that was kind of an issue.
Yes, that's
a little bit earlier on. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's what we're going to go over here. Guys, make sure you are submitting your comps to the Discord, discord.me/Little Podcast. Post your comps. If you get first place, we want to see it, especially in this new patch with Ranked. We want to see what's winning. We want to talk about them on the show, and when we have a little bit of a lighter show, we'll go over even more, but get them in there so we got the chance to talk about them. But that is going to wrap up the show here. Big one for us. Boop, any parting words before we go?
Find me on twitter.com/Booposaurus Rex, my friends.
Yes, and you can find the show at LIL Legends Pod on Twitter. Make sure you're following us there. We keep you updated there. And then the best place to find all of the show stuff and actually be a part of the community is at discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. You can also support us over at patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast. That is also very helpful to us. You can find me at _Blevins on Twitter, and the show is recorded live on Tuesdays in the evenings, usually 8 Eastern, twitch.tv/The Blevins, at least for the time being. Remember, you can also find us at Prediction, PREEDICTION, on all of your podcast platforms and Spotify. But that's going to be it, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you next week and talk about our first week of Ranked in what seems like forever. We'll catch you then.